Welcome to Sustainability Sundays. So today I wanted to talk about how do you break into the sustainability industry based on my experience over the past 3 years. The first thing you need to do is find an identity. Identity to me is a bunch of content that you're an expert about, and the second part is skills that you're good at and that you've developed over time. I'm going to give you some examples of content and skills that I think would be really helpful for anybody trying to break into the industry today. 4 themes that I think are good ways to get your foot in the door. The first theme is climate and carbon. This might be the hottest content area to work on in sustainability, no pun intended. It includes carbon emissions, carbon offsets, and sequestration. One I hear the most is nature-based solutions. If you have a nature-based solutions, you're instantly the superstar of whatever event is going on. The second big theme is agri and aquaculture. These include sustainable production and how you reduce pesticide and fertilizer use. It also includes reducing or eliminating deforestation and finding out ways to make food better. A third theme that has come up is finance. The finance industry has gotten very into sustainability, and these include things like ESG investments, green bonds, microfinance. Last one I would say is the energy industry, and this involves looking both at how we're producing renewable energy and also looking at the grid itself and how do we get more efficient in terms of our energy usage and energy deployment. These 4 themes aren't exhaustive, but if you're looking to get a head start and looking to pick something that is relevant at this point in time, you can't go wrong with picking any of these 4 themes. The thing about themes is that themes fade after a few years. There's always a risk that if you're an expert in a particular subject, it becomes irrelevant. So the alternative to themes is developing skills, because these last forever and they're cross-applicable. And I've listed out 5 of the top few skills that I think anybody could work on developing in order to make themselves relevant to the industry. The first is reporting and accounting. There are many different sustainability reporting schemes that have come up over the past 5 years, like the Carbon Disclosure Project, Global Reporting Initiative. We're probably going to see more sustainability initiatives coming online in the next few years, and with that, the demand for people who can do sustainability reporting is also going to grow. The next skill is compliance and assurance. This is basically making sure that there's control over the materials that are entering an organization or company's supply chain. I work in compliance and assurance, and I think it's going to be another really important part of sustainability moving forward as organizations and companies try and get a grip over what they're sourcing and how they're producing particular things. The third one is strategy development. It's developing a way that an organization can grow sustainably given all the new developments that are coming up. Fourth and the fifth skill kind of go together. Communications is really relevant for any organization that is public facing, and then linked to that also is research and being able to research particular topics and really get in depth into certain themes and content areas. What's the best way to develop these skills? I would advise against relying only on certification or online courses. I think certification and online courses, they're a great way to start. The challenge is that it's really hard to differentiate yourself with just online courses. Instead, I think that the best way to set yourself up is to start doing the work for the job you want before you've gotten the job. I want to give you an example. Imagine that you're Walt Disney and you need to hire an animator. Animator A walks in and he says that he's really passionate about animation, he's eager to learn, and he has a degree in animation. Then animator B walks in and he doesn't say a word, but he pulls out his phone and he starts playing a really fantastic fan-produced version of Into the Spider-Verse. It's really well put together and it's maybe 5 minutes long. And the question is, which animator are you going to hire? If it were up to me, I would hire the person who's already done the work that I need them to do. And I think it's the same in sustainability. The number one way that I would recommend anyone to do this is to volunteer. One of the options is to join existing groups and organizations. And there are lots of big NGOs out there looking for volunteers. These are great places to start, because if you have experience at these places on your CV, people tend to notice these names straight away. However, there are 2 challenges with wanting to work at big NGOs. The first is that there's incredible competition to get any of these roles. And I'll share a story from a couple of years ago. I was at a job fair and there were many different organizations that were showing off the work that they were doing. And the queue for EDF's booth was longer than the queue for all the other organizations combined, which also spoke to how difficult it was going to be to land an internship with EDF, I actually ended up speaking to a different organization that had almost nobody talking to them, and I ended up getting the role. The other challenge is that when big organizations are hiring for internship roles, you're going to be doing the job that they want, not necessarily the best job for you to develop. And that's a big thing to realize, because when you want to go into internships, you want to be growing and learning in that role. And if you're doing a specific thing for a big organization, you might get really good at that task, but you might not learn very much. The alternative then is to volunteer at smaller organizations. And there are lots of small environmental organizations out there. They're almost always looking for people. So it's really easy to get your foot in the door. The challenge with these smaller organizations is the opposite of the big ones. Any volunteer work you do can be really unstructured, and you might not necessarily be getting the best experience that you could possibly be getting. So these are just things to be aware of. I think there are trade-offs between both experiences, but they can be both good ways to get your foot in the door. And to be honest, if you ask me, the one thing that I would recommend anyone really wanting to stand out in this space, just do it yourself. Start your own project, start something that you're passionate about, see where that takes you. When I was in university, I was really interested in climate issues and carbon issues. I also wanted to develop skills in research, in communication, and advocacy. Together with a group of friends, we started on a research project to look at the links and connections between fossil fuel industries and the universities around us. And it took 3 years of work for us to finally put together and complete this research report. And this really allows you to showcase your skills and also showcase your knowledge in a way that you have control over. Another benefit of volunteering is that it allows you to explore what you enjoy. 5 years ago, I started volunteering with an organization called Climate Conversations. Their whole purpose was to engage people in small group conversations about climate change as a way to raise awareness. And it was through this experience that I realized that I hated talking to small groups. It just wasn't for me. And it was great that I was able to figure that out through a volunteering opportunity. Volunteering gives you the ability to step away from them. If you don't have time to volunteer, that's also okay. I think you can try and structure elements of your current job or your current role or your current work to include skills or content area that you've identified you want to develop and really work from there. The last thing that I would suggest for anyone looking to get into the space is to really understand, why do you want to get into sustainability? Maybe take a few seconds to think about it. It's a really good space to get into. There are many headlines nowadays about how there's great competition for people who work in the sustainability industry. But the motivation for working in the space needs to go beyond just having a job. The money in sustainability, to be honest, isn't fantastic. Industries like tech, consulting, or finance, these industries earn more than sustainability. And so if you're really after money, I don't actually think this is the right industry for you. The other challenge is also burnout is very real. It takes a long time to see impacts in the sustainability space. If you're just chasing trends, if you're just chasing money, it's not gonna be a pleasant journey. Personally, I'm working in sustainability to reduce suffering, to address injustices. Those are some topics that are important to me. There's a whole range of reasons why people are working in sustainability: to have better outcomes for health, to improve the labor conditions, and improve the outcomes for human rights. If you don't already have a clear reason on why you want to work in sustainability, that's okay. Just spend a little bit of time. And you should be able to find something that resonates with you and also gives you a reason to stay when times get difficult, which they definitely will do. I also reached out to a few friends in the sustainability industry and I asked them for other tips that they would share, and I'll cover these very briefly. The first one is keeping an open mind, not having a preconceived notion about what sustainability is. There are a lot of different ways that you can approach a particular problem or situation. Being open to explore, to learn is quite critical. And the second thing is, as I mentioned earlier, be prepared that it's going to take some time before the impact starts to show through. That's all I have for today. Thanks for joining. And if you have any requests or things that you're interested in hearing about, feel free to drop me a message. Thanks so much for joining.